that leadership is the solution to every problem we have in our world. Every single problem can be solved with effective leadership. Now, that's not leadership at the top. A lot of times people say, oh yeah, if we could just get better leaders in our country, better leaders at the top, things would change. No. Our leadership problem isn't at the top. Our leadership problem is with us. Because what would our country look like if every single one of us stepped up and answered the call to leadership? If we were personally responsible for our own actions and we didn't blame other people for our circumstances. If we were personally responsible as leaders, things would be a lot different. Instead, we blame the people at the top because that's a lot easier. Now, when we blame the people at the top, who put the people at the top? We did. So again, who do we blame? We can make a lot of changes if we step up and answer that call. So leadership is the solution to every problem we have in our world. So if that's the case, what is leadership? When you think of a great leader, what's a word that comes to mind? Shout a couple out for me.
Empowering.
Empowering. Responsibility. Passionate. Love it. Confident. Authentic. Caring. We could go on all day, right? Because there's a lot of words that describe great leaders. There's a lot of different definitions of leadership. There's two words that come to my mind when I think of a great leader, and they kind of go together. The first word is dad. Because I'm up here today, I do what I do because of the tremendous influence that my father has played in my life. I started speaking when I was 7 years old. You don't do that unless you have a dad or a mom or somebody that you can follow in their footsteps. My first goal, I went through my first goal-setting program when I was 4 years old. My first goal that I ever wrote down was I wanted to be just like my dad. I wanted to speak and get paid money. So when I was 7 years old, I got to do that, and I spent my life traveling around the world with him as his opening speaker. Now we work together, and I make him be my opening speaker. But his influence over me has helped get me to where I am today, and that's what leadership is. Leadership is pretty simple. It's just influence. All the different definitions we could throw out there, all the different words to describe leaders, it's pretty simple. It's just influence. And understanding that your influence can be positive or negative is important. Understanding that with influence comes responsibility. Positive influence adds value to others. Now, it says here influencing others is a choice. And that's actually not entirely accurate because we're going to influence others no matter what. We're all leaders in some way. And a lot of times that's not by choice. If we, our parents, when your parents decided to have kids, guess what? They're leaders. For me, I got married about 1.5 years ago. That's a leadership role. It's a pretty important one. So understanding that you're going to influence people no matter what, the choice that you have, and it's the most important choice, is whether or not that influence is going to be positive or negative. So how will you lead? How will you influence others? Now, what do we read on the front page of the newspaper every morning? About the negative influences. We hear a lot more about that. We want to start hearing more about the positive, and that starts with us. So understanding that positive influence is a choice. And I hope that you all make the choice. I think by being here today, you've made the choice to be positive influencers, positive leaders, and I hope you'll continue that and pass that on. Because what you learned here today, you can pass that on to others, and we can grow a great group of leaders that can change our world. So, a couple of leadership myths for you. I can't talk about leadership without talking about things that people say about leadership that are wrong. Number one, only a chosen few are called to leadership. Well, that's not true because I already said every single person in this room is a leader. We're all called to lead in some way. We may not all be called to be President of the United States or Executive Director of a nonprofit, but we're called to lead in some way. How are you called to lead? As you leave here today, figure that out. Figure out how you're called to lead right now. It doesn't have to be how you're called to lead 10 years from now. How are you called to lead right now? How can you make a difference right now? And the next one is, leaders are born and not made. How often do we hear that? Oh man, that John over there, he's a born leader. That's not how it works. If leaders were born and not made, when we found out, if you are having a child and you find out the sex of the child, right after finding out whether it's a boy or a girl, you then find out leader, or, I'm sorry, you're having a follower. That's not how it works, is it? Boy, girl, and then over time, you develop your leadership skills. You develop into the kind of leader that you want to be. It's not predetermined. You don't have to have a charismatic personality. That's another misconception. If you've ever taken a Myers-Briggs personality assessment, I am off the charts introvert. I mean, you can't find a more introverted person than I am, which is why I like to sit over there before I speak, because I'm not great at interacting with other people. People say, how can you speak to a big group? Well, I'm up here. I don't have to be over there, but if I get out there in all of you and into your conversations, I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm certainly not a charismatic personality. How many leaders do you know that don't have charismatic personalities? One of my favorite leaders of all time was Mother Teresa. And yet, I don't remember anything she ever said. She had a lot of great quotes. I can't remember what her voice sounds like, but I have this picture ingrained in my mind of Mother Teresa on the streets of Calcutta holding a homeless person that has just passed away. That's what I see when I think of Mother Teresa. Now, that's a leader, but not a charismatic personality. So we can have an effect on a lot of people, no matter our personality. And then lastly, leaders manipulate people. Negative leaders manipulate people. Leaders that are truly effective, they build people up, because the true definition of an effective leader is someone that builds up other leaders. We don't want to have a big group of followers. We want to have a big group of leaders. Followers just follow. Leaders lead. So that's how we multiply.